This is the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar for Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. It is Yom Hamishi, 5th day of the week, the 4th day of Shvat, 5786. The Parsha of the week is Parshat Bo, and the Daf Yomi is Zevachim 11. And today is the anniversary of the passing. They call it Yortzeit. It's also called Helula. It's the day that this particular individual passed away. A great righteous man, a mystic, saintly Sephardic, Moroccan Sephardic rabbi by the name of, they call him the Baba Sali, is Rabbi Yisrael Abu Chatzera. And the 4th day of Shvat, and celebrate his, in the Jewish custom, when someone passes on, initially one can look at it as a sad day, but when they're a righteous person, or in general, when someone passes on, it's not considered as a bad thing. It's considered as a good thing, because then it's like their spiritual birthday. They're going into the next world, and there's the idea of being able to go higher and higher. There's that idea. They say neshama, may their soul have an aliyah, be raised, however that translates. And so today is the day, the 4th day of Shvat. I think it was in 1984. I'm not exactly sure, but this is the early 80s sometime. And so this calendar is a few calendars in one. It's a solar and a lunar calendar, and it's a Daf Yomi calendar, which means the daily Talmud page, and it's a Julian calendar as well. The Julian calendar, as it stands now, is 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar. So, initially it was 11 days behind, but then it loses a few minutes each year. And so over the time, since whatever it was, 1582 or something, it lost enough to make it not 11 days, but 13 days behind. And we'll be in that place for the next 80 years or so. I think it's like 1900 through 2099, maybe 80, 70 something years, whatever. It's a long time, probably. After, I was going to say probably more than we'll all be here, but you never know. Yeah. I think after 2099 it loses an additional, it might be like 14 days or 13 and a half days, something, not sure. But anyway, this calendar is used for a lot of things. There's something called Soda Ibor, the secret of intercalations, has to do with this. And just to be honest, some of the things that I'm exploring with this calendar haven't even fully been realized yet. But basically, there's different methods of using it. So this is the method I've been using currently, is that I'm looking for patterns and numbers that come up over and over again in a certain series, or I guess series is the word. But there is a solar number and there's a lunar number. A lunar number is the date of the Hebrew calendar, where it's located on this table, and naturally the solar number is the Gregorian date, because it's a solar calendar, where it's located here. So we just entered the Hebrew month of Shvat, and Shvat generally, as a large sort of like broad stroke, like a generalization, February corresponds to Shvat, even though many years, there could be a lot of January in Shvat. Right now, we're already in Shvat, and we're January 22nd. So it might be like a little bit less than half and half, but still, it's going to end up in February. Shvat always has a few days in February. Usually has some days in January, but it's right in between there. But it corresponds to February. So February, Shvat, starts the cycle again. Even though it's not spring, it's not the first month of winter, it's right smack center of winter. In astrology, they call that fixed. Fixed is when you are deep in the season of what you're in, no matter what it is. If you're deep in summer, you're going to be in August. August is fixed. If you're deep in winter, the deepest you can be, you've already been in winter for a while now, and you're really, really into it, then if you would go more, it would already be, in a way, ending. And that's where the mutable months come in. But fixed, February is a fixed winter month because we've already been in winter for a while now. We've been like the end of December, January, and February. Now, when we turn to March, it's mutable because March is already changing into spring a little bit. At the end of March, it's going to be spring. So, in the third dispensation, then the rule is, the third dispensation, all fixed months, meaning February, November, August, and May, all of those months start the cycle. And that's how the year is calculated, the starting point. There's different New Years. We learn in Tractate Rosh Hashanah, the tractate dealing with New Year's, that there's 4 New Years. And it's the same thing here. There are 4 different New Years. Each year is 3 months. But what's interesting is that on Mercury, planet Mercury that is, each year is literally 3 months, which means it takes 88 of our Earth days to orbit the sun. That's what's written and published, so I'm going with that. And even if that's not true, it still doesn't matter. There's a time, that period of time, called not 3 months, which is found in the Bible, incidentally. Not incidentally, but actually that's the reason why it's there. There's 3 places that I can think of, off the top of my head, that 3 months, which is this time, is found in the Bible. It's found with Moses in Exodus chapter 2, when his mother hid him for 3 months, it says, in the beginning of Exodus chapter 2. It's also found in Genesis chapter 38, after Tamar had deceptively, she disguised herself as a prostitute and slept with Judah, and the result of that were the twins, who are the progenitors of the Messiah, if you could imagine that. Imagine like a shady event, with a prostitute, and that's where the Messiah comes from. It's almost like the idea of a mamzer is associated with the Messiah. In some ways, quite literally. But the idea of mamzer, illegitimate, child, so like imagine the child of a prostitute, and these children are twins, Peretz and Zerach, and they're the ancestors of the Messiah. And so it says after this event happened, the verse says in Genesis chapter 38, forget which verse, Vayhi kib shalosh chadashim, it was about 3 months. Again, the same time. And the third time, I said 3 times in the Torah, it's really twice in the Torah, and once in Navi, in Nach. And 3 months was the amount of time that the ark was held at a fellow by the name of Oved Edom. King David, when he was bringing the ark, and the incident happened when Uzzah touched it and Uzzah died, King David moved the ark into someone's house. This person was named. It says he was also a Levite, according to it's in the book of Chronicles, chapter 13. I forgot which first or second Chronicles. I can't remember which one was Chronicles. I think 13. 2 Samuel, chapter 6. I think maybe first Chronicles 13, 2 Chronicles 6. I think, but I could be wrong. They both those two sources tell the story of Paris Uzzah, this place where Uzzah, they were carrying the ark, and Uzzah put his hand forth to touch the ark, and he got zapped basically. And so then King David, for some reason, moved the ark to another Levite by the name of, I think Uzzah was a Levite. I think he was. That's why he was carrying it. That's why Levites carried the ark, I think. But there's another Levite named Obed Edom the Gittite, not to be confused with the Gittite. That's a Canaanite. But there's different reasons. Some say he was from the city of Gat, or he stayed in Gat for a time, or something like that. But what's interesting is that Obed Edom is quite a peculiar name, just from my perspective. I mean, just from my view. I don't know what other commentaries say about it, but Obed Edom means servant of Edom. Why would a Jew be called the servant of Edom? Edom, Esau was the brother of Jacob, and they are related to us, but they weren't known as particularly friends at that time, and so why would he be called Obed Edom? But that hasn't. So it's that the ark stayed in his house for this amount of time as well, 3 months it says. So my own interpretation of that is that this work is Edom in a way, because of the mathematics, and in Judaism in general, if you look around, people are not using numeracy a lot. Just look at any video of any rabbi talking. They're not going to be bringing mathematics and counting. I'm not saying that no one does it. I'm saying it's not very common from what I've seen. And if you want to learn mathematics, engineering, physics, go to college. Learn it in a secular place. But when are mathematics used for spiritual purposes? Well, to me, that's why this is connected to Obed Edom. It's Obed, it's a work of Edom, of the non-Jewish, that is to say, mind frame, Edom. And so that would be the connection here with that. So there's a method of calculating that I use where you get the solar number and lunar number, you add them together, and then you take that number and you attempt to do something with it. So today, on the on the lunar calendar, it's the fourth day of Shvat, and the fourth Shvat would be number 34, right here. 1 Shvat, 2 Shvat, 3 Shvat, 4 Shvat. Man. On the solar calendar, we're on January 22nd. So the 22nd in Dispensation 3, since we started here in November, so it's November, December, and then January. That means when you get to January 20th, you finished this basic portion. So then where are the additional 10 or 11 days? In January, of course, it's 11 because January has 31 days, 21 through 31, 11 days. Where is it? I don't see it here. Where is it? It's right here. This white line right here is an invisible line, which is referred to in the PL-89 as the 10-day twilight period. In this case, 11 days, but it's called the 10-day twilight period. Which means so T1, T2, T3, T4, etc. So January 22nd would be T2. It's the final 11 days or 10 days in any cycle. And that's counted as 2. So what's 2 plus 34? 36. So then I think, what does 36 equal? 36 equals oil. And I'm thinking about how can I relate? Why is oil in my mind? Because I asked myself, what does Messiah mean? It means anointed with oil, as we had in different types of people in the Bible that came up today. Different, like priests and kings would be called anointed because they'd be anointed with oil. And that's an oil equals 36. O is 15, I is 9, that's 24, and 24 and L is 12. So 24 and 12 is 36. So oil would be the word that came as a result of today's calculation. And I happen to have thought about oil today. And I didn't think that I would think about oil because today's numbers add up to 36. No, I thought about oil. It just came up in my mind today. And I watched a video to the oil, but it just so happens to be that on this calendar, on January 22nd, 2026, we're on T2. And on the fourth day of Shabbat, 5786, we happen to be on 34. And 34 plus 2 happens to be 36. And 36 happens to equal the word oil in English gematria. So I don't know about you. You might think it's all silliness, but I think it's just amazing how this connective process happens. And it's not just today. Like that happens quite often. Which leads me to think, can thoughts and mental activity and even truth claims be determined through this sort of numeric process of adding numbers and seeing them in the calendar and developing formulas, thought formulas to come up with clear calculations for things like this? And that is the work of the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar. Thank you for listening.